Welcome to aleister-nacht's Satanic audio blog. This week we'll talk about several different subjects. The main subject of the blog this week is the Bride of the Beast, the Fall Equinox Feast, and joining a Satanic coven. But before we get started, a couple things to note. You've probably noticed a bit of a change in my voice. This is my voice. I hope you're not disappointed. One of the visitors to the audio blog suggested that maybe I take a little bit of the compression off, and so here it is. Again, hope you're not disappointed, and I hope this is easier to listen to than the other voice. But this is my voice, so enjoy. Another thing that happened last week is I achieved a really fantastic milestone, and I'm really honored and humbled by this milestone. The Book of Satanic Magic, one of my books, the second book that I've written on Satanism, hit the Kindle top 10 best-selling books in the genre of Satanism this past week. So really a humbling experience and fantastic. I mean, this when I started writing books, my first book was Magnum Opus, Secrets of the Inner Sanctum, which no one really knew what it was about, but basically it was look inside our coven. Our coven's name is Magnum Opus, so it was kind of a view of our theology and the way that we looked at Satanism, which is a little bit different than other Satanists view Satanism, especially the ones that are atheist, basically. Not to paint ourselves into a corner, but our coven is more theistic. We do know that Satan exists as well as demons, and if you have listened to this audio blog very much, or stopped by my written blogs, you know that we do believe in that, and that is our theology. So, again, this was my second book that I wrote, and it's kind of funny. Writing started out for me as a release. It was therapeutic more than anything. I noticed that, there were a lot of people out there who knew nothing about Satanism, and there were a lot of misconceptions about Satanism and the practice of Satanism and satanic magic. And so I really started out using this as a therapeutic outlet. And it has, over the years, taken on a life of its own. The Magnum Opus book came out in November of 2010, and it just kind of came and went. Not very many people noticed it. The sales were not very good, but so the publisher took me aside and said, okay, if we're going to do this, let's do one more. And so there was a lot riding on the Book of Satanic Magic, theistically as well as monetarily. And should that book have not sold, you probably would not have ever heard of aleister-nacht. So anyway, it's a wonderful milestone to achieve, and I'm very humbled by that. The second thing this week is I released the results of the poll that I took for the last few weeks, asking a simple question: would you attend a virtual satanic ritual? And so 81% of the respondents said yes, they would. They believe that it would be a value added for Satanists. And again, this is intended for those soul practitioners who practice Satanism alone and do not belong to a coven. Again, 81% said yes, they would, and 10% said no, and the remaining said, I have no earthly idea. I have no idea whatsoever. So, again, it's more and more people are embracing the internet and looking at the internet as a different way to get out there and kind of do this in a different way when it comes to Satanism. And then the last thing before we get started is I met a really wonderful person online. I guess it was a couple months ago now, and we have corresponded back and forth. She's disabled, and she does not have the use of her legs. And she has been such an inspiration to me, being able to communicate with her, and she's always so positive, and she is a practicing Satanist. She does belong to a local coven where she lives. I won't mention any names or anything. I promised her anonymity, so I will honor that. But it is just a wonderful experience to really see how strong she is. And while I can never really relate to her challenges, it's just really refreshing. Her candor and brutal honesty about things, and the way that she approaches things from a very matter-of-fact delivery. And so, again, she has been a wonderful inspiration for me, and you can read more about her on the satanicmagic.wordpress.com blog. So this week, we're about 4 days away from what most people know as the Bride's Feast, or a Bride for the Beast, as some people know it, about 4 days away. This occurs September 7th this year. And so a lot of people have asked questions about this, especially as we approach certain satanic holidays and celebrations. And they have also asked about joining a satanic coven. And so I decided to kind of combine these two subjects together in this week's blog and talk about the two things and the way that we do things, especially initiations here in Magnum Opus. Now, this will differ greatly from coven to coven. And, some people look at initiations different ways, and some people look at them as almost hazing events, and we certainly do not take that avenue. We want the brother or sister to be relaxed. There are certain things that we do during the ritual, and some of those things will not be revealed, but we do really honor the initiate and bring them into the satanic world and give them a very powerful charge to further Satanism in everything that they do. So, again, kind of looking at some different ways that we do things. This symbolic act, the Bride for the Beast, or again, as it's known, Bride of the Beast, or the Feast of the Beast, is a satanic ritual, and it is a very strong ritual, strong magic, a lot of energy, and we use this ritual for our initiations. So most satanic covens, they usually vary in size and of course diversity as well. Most coven are 13 members, and when a 14th person is indoctrinated, usually the core coven will divide in some nature. And so this allows the more senior members in the core coven to become leaders of their own individual group now, and they can move in a certain direction and take more of a leadership type role within the coven. And due to the size of our coven, magnum opus, we're now building our fifth coven group, thanks to the blessings of Satan. So we have had quite a few initiates that have come through. Couple terms here, prospects. You've probably heard this in motorcycle gangs and clubs and things like that, but we use it as the same way. A prospect is a person who expresses interest in becoming a satanic brother or sister, and they contact a person within the coven that they know, and so the vetting process begins usually during the springtime. And depending on the prospect's history, the time required for the vetting process, and if the results are, of course, acceptable, the prospect is assigned a mentor who is usually that sponsor that they contacted within the coven. And that person teaches them what they have to learn before attending the actual initiation. Our coven initiations are usually held during this upcoming Bride of the Beast, this year, September 7th. And this celebration, this time we are initiating, I believe it's 4 more initiates. So this allows the new initiates to fully participate in the upcoming fall equinox feast, which is held toward the end of September. And so they have to be initiated to participate in that ritual. And so this Bride of the Beast ceremony is a great place to bring them into the coven, have them some time before the actual fall equinox feast to prepare some things and get to know some things and learn some things so that they can fully participate. Covens around the world are very individualistic. Some of the things that they do vary greatly. Some coven hold initiations whenever they have a member who is interested. And again, this varies depending on what the coven feels is appropriate. Members of any organization have to be satisfied. They have to feel that they're receiving a value, or they will start to seek fulfillment elsewhere, and the Satanic Coven is no different. During my decades as a Satanist, I have always felt a sense of belonging and being at home in the coven. I was never comfortable nor relaxed enough to cease and desist as a theological really searcher until I found Satanism, and it just gave me a different reason to dig deeper into the work and figure out more and more of the magic aspects over the years. The autumn equinox is also called the Festival of Dionysus, or the Witches' Thanksgiving. It occurs usually around September 21st, and that changes from year to year, but I believe this year it does fall on the 21st. The two hemispheres of the earth are receiving an equal amount of sun and light, night and day, during that time period. And it comes from the Latin words equus, which is equal, and nox, which is night. The sun is on a celestial equator of the earth, and it truly intersects east and west for that one time during the year for the fall equinox, and it does it again during the spring as well. In Celtic traditions, which still survive today, the fall equinox is a time of sacrifice. They would actually make a figure out of stems of grain, and they would set it on fire and sacrifice this being that they had created. So again, the celebrations and rituals, they vary greatly. Some groups actually